And good evening. Welcome to Gator's Garage, the ramblings of Gator games and books. This evening, we're going to be talking about this Quars War, the Clash of Rifles. Welcome, and I am your host, Mike Baker, host of All Things Gator, coming to you live from, well, actually pre recorded from Gator Garage, my own garage where I keep my stock and run my store and talk to you guys about all things gaming. This week, we're talking about the Quar. If you've been following my social media at all on my Facebook page and my web page and my Instagram page, you've seen a lot of discussion about the Quar. And if you're not following those pages, well, you should be. Not there, but that actually would be very honored to have y'all follow us. And this is my YouTube channel where for a bit I come out and I talk to the folks. As we get larger, I'll do some live casts, but for right now, we're doing everything pre recorded. However, feel free to drop any questions you have in the comment section and I will answer them on the next weekly broadcast. So we come roughly about every Tuesday, health permitting. We missed last week, we were down with a cold. So we're kind of playing a little bit of catch up here this week with our Quars Rifles. This has been a universe that has intrigued me for about 10 years. Came across them a few years ago. And it was one of those, hey, that'd be kind of cool to do, but hey, it was one of about a dozen shiny pennies that came across my desk, and well, I kept kind of moving. Plus, it was metal minis, and they were selling for a little bit more than I wanted to pay for metals. So we kind of let them go, and roll forward about 10 years, and here I am rocking along with Gator Games and Books and talking to my buddy Tom from War Games and Landing. He says, oh, by the way, we're going to be dropping that Ford's box set. I'm like, well, what? He's like, yeah, the core, So he's like, yeah, it's got two factions in it. It's got a rule book, everything people need to get the game started. I said, well, now, Tom, I'm all about starter sets. I love starter sets because it gives you two armies, an opportunity either for you and a friend to go in or for you to go in with two armies, and then you can recruit other players. Pro tip, um, doesn't matter what you like to play what you like. Grab a couple of armies and, always work to try and build the type of world you want to play in. Now, that doesn't mean you don't play your buddies' games, but also you want to be playing your own games as well. I see a lot of people that will be like, well, I'm going to get into what everybody else is playing. I hear you on that. Quars War is kind of one of those that you grab it because you like it, then you recruit other folks. And we're going to show you a little bit about how easy that can be. It's a very fascinating universe. The world of the Quar. Let's see here. The world of the Quar are very whimsical. Here they are. You've got the guys in blue are the Croftians, say that real fast. Basically, I like to call them the Royalists for short. Got the snazzy blue uniforms, brown or gray trousers. Kind of my favorites, but then some people would say I'm a Royalist that aren't anyway. Facing them are the guys in green, the Crusaders, who have recently reorganized and marched their way across the continent. However, lately their most recent great leader has passed away, and there's now a schism within the crusade. But that doesn't stop the remaining crusaders from trying to push their way and bring their revolution to the quote unquote oppressed people of the Costrian region. So that's our basic conflict in this box between these two huge political entities. And you would think that this would be an army based game, but no, it is not. It is actually a skirmish game. The world of the core, they've been fighting for about 700 years. They're currently about a technology level around 1917, 1918. And by the way, the core themselves, intelligent anteaters, bug eaters. So, yeah, if you think about our anteaters, if they had cities and armies, this might be how they are. The Quar have been fighting steadily for the last 700 years in something they like to affectionately call the Long War. Doesn't mean they've been fighting constantly, but there's been a major war somewhere on their continent, somewhere on their world, for the last 700 years. The Crusades looked like they were about to put an end to that with kind of the Peace of the Graveyard, but when it broke against the Croftian nobility, suddenly everything's up in the air, and we'll find out more about that as this universe expands. All the great movements of people and places and things and huge armies, at the end of the day, the struggle really comes down to the individual Quar and what they do. This is a game not about the faceless hordes, but about individuals fighting for the world they're either trying to make or preserve. It's about the individual core and how they face the challenges of combat. And your figures in this game, they will react absolutely individually to the challenges of combat. So that's why we can take 24 figures and have two opposing forces, about 12 on each side. So let's take a little bit more look at the game. And there's a core at the end of the day. He's kind of, that's actually, it looks like a crusader. He's in green, kind of looking over the winds, the landscape there before it gets torn up by warfare. Here we go. What's in the box? Oh my gosh. So for $71.99 at Gator Games and Books, you get a box of goodies. There's a mini rule book, the pocket book, walks you through all the basics of running the game. A lot packed into that little book. An activation deck, more about that later, and several sprues of troops with the Crusaders on one side of the sprue and the Koftrians on the other side of the sprue. Want to watch that? I actually put 12 Crusaders, quote unquote, together, and turned out that I had put Crusader heads and arms on Koftrian bodies. Now, that's easy to do if you just kind of start sticking and gluing, but one of the things they have included to help you is a number letter system that if you follow will generally keep your figures in pretty good shape and keep them going together roughly the way that you want them to go together. But hey, I'm going to have some Crusaders fighting in captured kit. That won't be too bad, probably in keeping with the entire game actually. The rule book's full color. It has color plates for both the Crusader and Koftrian uniforms. Crusaders, like I say, they're in your traditional, olive, drab, and khaki. And the Koftrians are in a royal blue or a space marine blue, and either a beige or a gray kit. I'm going to actually go with gray with mine, so blue and gray for my Koftrians or my royalists, and olive green and khaki for my Crusaders. You see the deck of cards there. The leaves actually mean things. They're not just there for the core to eat. Each leaf actually represents an activation. We'll talk about that a little more down the line. All in all, though, a very whimsical looking kit. The core look whimsical, you'd have to say. I mean, you look at him, you got this nose sticking out from under a helmet. So, I mean, just so it's a little quirky. And that's always been one of the things that kind of appealed to me about it was a very quirky universe, and yet the familiarity of the World War One style rifles, assault rifles, automatic rifles, light machine guns, just stuff we're familiar with from, say, our bolt action days. So there you go. Um, my wife actually likes the kit because the weapons are a little bit oversized. You can actually tell what an assault rifle looks like. You can tell what a long rifle looks like. They're pretty distinctive, especially if you put any kind of a decent paint job on them. What we did with ours is we did a quick base coat of blue for the Croftians and green for the Crusaders, and that at least allowed us to. Oh, and some color schemes on the skin. And a word about that, I'm going to flip back on you again a little bit. If you look on the book here, and you'll look here, you'll see that these guys are in blue. And if you look on the front of the box, you see you've got orange skin, blue skin, khaki skin. I mean, these guys have all kinds of brown, kind of a burnt umber skin. So this is somewhere you can really have a lot of fun with your skin tones. I think I went with greens, browns, and purples for my guys. So again, very whimsical opportunity to kind of let your imagination run wild, especially with the skin tones. Here's another couple shots of the sprues there. If you're looking at this on your computer, you can probably blow it up a little bit for even a better view. And of course, the activation deck. And you've seen me reference that. Many games have this kind of a deck. This one handles a little bit differently. We'll talk about that in just a second. Most important pieces for gameplay in the box: the pocket rule book and the quick reference sheet. They're really easy to get to. All your key charts are in the back of the book or on the quick reference sheet. Quick reference sheet breaks down by Croftian in blue, tells you what their skill sets are, what weapons they're carrying, or Crusaders in tan, and again, who they are, what their skill sets are, what kind of weapons they're carrying, and then this over here walks through the firing sequence. The game in play. Okay, we put our core together. Maybe we've slapped a coat of paint on each of them so we can tell them apart because all gray figures are kind of hard to tell apart, especially with these two because their kit is really about the only thing that really significantly distinguishes them. Kind of like I guess if you were to look at a group of humans, from outside the human race, you'd be like, they all look alike to me, just the skin tone's different. So there you go. Random number actions per phase based on card leaves. So your average card is going to have from 3 to 5 actions on it. Here's the first difference. If you and I are playing, you will draw my card and tell me how many activations I get, and I will draw you and tell you how many you get. Now, we are both guaranteed a minimum of 3. So you draw the card, and I take my 3 actions, and then I say, okay, do I have a fourth action? And if I have one, of course, you've got to tell me and say, yes, you have a fourth action. I take my fourth action, say I shoot at somebody or I move a guy. And then I say, okay, do I have a fifth action? You say, yeah, you've got a fifth action. So I take my fifth action. Now, certain activities take 2 actions, like aiming a rifle takes 2 actions. So if you've got 3 actions you can do and you have one guy aim, he's using up 2 of your actions. On the backside, if you come up to your third pip and want to do 2 actions and you say, hey, I want to do 2 action. Do I have another activation? And you don't have it, well, that second action is lost and your turn ends, so your activation ends. So we alternate drawing cards for each other. When the entire card deck's gone through, that's 1 turn. Average game is going to be about 4 to 6 turns if you're playing with all the figures in the box. As few as 2 turns if you play 4 on 4. Now we'll talk about that a little bit more further down the road as well. Let's talk about the combat system. Little different, a 3d6 skill check combat execution system. So you're trying to take 3d6 and roll equal to or less than your core skill set. Most core have a skill of around 12 or 13. And when you go to shoot, for example, that's going to be modified by cover, by what your opponent does, by whether it's long range, whether you're aiming, whether you have support from a friend or not. Any number of things can modify that die roll. You roll your 3d6. A 4 is always a success, so 4 on 3 dice. And a 3 is always a success with an extra action. A 17 is always a fail, and an 18 is a fail with what's called a gobsmack. So your character's got to spend an action to get himself put back together next time he's activated. So that's the skill check system, and that's used for firing and for close combat. There's also a 2d6 fate check system. This is used for infiltrating guys onto the field, throwing smoke grenades, throwing fragmentation grenades, with 1 and 6 being the critical numbers. You roll a double 6, bonzo, your grenade does exactly what you wanted to do. As a matter of fact, in the case of a smoke grenade, you place 2. However, if you roll snake eyes, said grenade lands at your feet with the all the fun that entails, especially if that's a fragmentation grenade. So grenades can be spotty. I've tried them a couple of times. I think both mine were duds. I was trying frag grenades. I may try smoke grenades next time we play. Keep watching the blog. You'll see cool pictures. All the figures have an ability to react to incoming fire. This is not a game where you activate with your figure and then they just stand there. Even if they've activated, if they take fire, they can react. It can be everything from snapping a shot back at somebody to diving for cover. Diving for cover gives you the best protection. And by the way, if you dive in this game and go prone, you're still active. If you're on the, unless you're behind cover, if you're prone behind cover, well, you can't hit anything till you stand up. But you're still active even though you're prone. I know, like in bolt action, if you go down, your figure's out of action for the turn. Not so in this case. You go down or you dive for cover, your figure is still very much active and in play, unless, of course, your opponent rolls sufficient when he shoots at you to give your guy a bonk on the head. In which case, he's gobsmacked, and you have to spend an action to recover that. There is an active use of pluck points by leaders to influence the course of the battle. Maybe I spend a pluck point to have another guy shoot with you. So you shoot and another guy shoots with you, adds a +2. I might spend a pluck point to have you move an extra inch or stand up. I might spend a pluck point to improve your shot by 1. So you roll a hit and you're over by 1. I can spend a pluck point to pull that down. As you would imagine, these start off with a limited pool, but different actions like healing your friends, taking out enemy troops can add to your pluck pool. So the use of pluck pools and the use of the reaction system by the non-phasing player, or even by the phasing player, can really creates a dynamic, fully engaged system. Both players are constantly watching. Both players constantly have an opportunity to do something with their side. This is not going to be one where you take all your moves and shots and then go make tea while your opponent beats the crap out of your army. In addition, since the battles tend to play from 15 minutes to an hour, there's a quick tail, quote unquote, campaign system. So you can string together several of the scenarios in a campaign system, and your core can even grow in different skill levels. So there's a lot going on in this little box. As always with skirmish or tactical games, I love to encourage people, if you get the box, put four basic Crusaders together, put four basic Croftians together. That's 100 points on a side, and start playing the game. That's 2 turns of going through the cards, and you'll start working through the actions and get you a little bit more excited while you're building out the rest of your squad. I know oftentimes, it can seem like, oh my gosh, I got to build all these troops, paint all these guys before I put them on the table, or put them on the table unpainted. In this case, you don't necessarily have to. Like I say, I kind of cheated a little bit. I knew I wanted my Croftrians to be in blue, so I painted them all blue. I knew I wanted to put my Crusaders in army green, so they started off life all in army green. So that's another shortcut you can take to kind of get you guys on the table while you're working on learning the game and painting your miniatures. And I think that's always exciting. Always a fan to grab as few figures as you need to start learning your game. And hey, where you choose to finish building figures, well, that's up to you. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. So hope I piqued your interest. This Quars War, absolutely fascinating game universe, absolutely fascinating game itself. War Games Atlantic is fully supporting this game. The Croftians already have a complete box of infantry come out, 24 infantry. I don't believe they come with bases. You'll have to buy bases separate. That's one of the uniquenesses of War Games Atlantic. Their figures tend to be cheaper, but you do have to provide your own bases. To date, they've come out with a box of extra infantry, officers, because more officers are better. RCO support team, so that's a tractor that can be used to fire, I believe, both HE and anti-tank rounds. I've heard rumblings of vehicles on the way. Catch the play on words there. Or trench raiders. Trench raiders in this world are just like trench raiders in the Earth world. They're nasty. They like close combat weapons, and they're maybe just a little bit crazy. So that's some stuff that is coming out for the Croftians. This is all in stock on our website at GatorGamesandBooks.com. I should say GatorGamesWayX.com. The Crusaders, they have not been left out. They have a box of infantry coming out. They've got officers on the way. They've got an anti-tractor torpedo team coming out. Now, think of this as Bangalore torpedoes that you attach to tanks. I think the Japanese used something like this in World War II. And they're nasty if they hit, but takes some really crazy guys to try and get up there and stick that against the tank. And the Crusaders see themselves reinforced with some light machine guns, which is something in the basic box only the Croftians have. So there's more kits coming out. As I hinted, I've heard rumors of tractors coming out. The system is fully supported by both the plastic kits as well as some print on demand or STL print on demand kits at the War Games Atlantic site. So whatever your pleasure is for hobbying, this game definitely fills that. It's definitely something different from some of the other stuff that we're seeing. It's not quite fantasy, but it's not quite hard science fiction either. It's Quar, and I really hope you'll take time to take a look at it. I'm going to have links to the Zombie Smith website, where all the core literature is located. All the source books currently are available for free download, including the old source books, which have a lot of background in them, as well as some other rules that you can use to play your core miniatures with. I've heard of people playing with the core miniatures and using Xenos Rampant. So, what once you get the minis, what you do with them is absolutely entirely up to you, and that's always as it should be. Also on the Zombie Smith website, I think he's going to be doing some of his own printable STLs, as well as they also have metals for sale in 6 millimeter, 15 millimeter, and 28 millimeter. So metals are more your passion. You can find some of those there. But as always, we here at Gator hope you'll do business with us. We've got, of course, the Quar. We've got a variety of terrain in 28 millimeter that would fit quite well with this world. And we're here, as always, to meet your hobby needs. Again, thank you for taking time to watch the channel. Give us a click, give us a like, give us a subscribe, drop some comments in the comment section below, and tell us what else you'd like to see us cover. Thanks again, and have a good evening.